what is the reason and evidence that this particular scripture is a revelation from God?
If I'm standing here, I'll probably forget some of the main ones. I just see it in terms of the way people's lives get changed, the way that, first of all, that that's a life thing, but secondly, the way that people's understanding suddenly think, oh, things fell into place in my understanding. I think those are two very important things. The way that life-changing, the way that so often the most admirable individuals that I see happen to have been the ones who have gone the Jesus way. And secondly, the reason is that people have this experience that previously I had lots of experiences which seemed not related, and I couldn't make a single coherent theory out of them. But the Bible and Jesus was suddenly the key that enabled me to make a coherent life philosophy.
Okay, let me try to understand what I've heard from you. Okay, so you have the evidence of how these writings changed people's lives, changed your lives. Okay, so it's a life-changing writing. It changed your life, first point, and the experiences that you have, the experience is only meaningful, only coherent by reading this writing. So it gives you a coherent understanding of life through the experience that you have. Okay? So now, if you actually think about it, life-changing, you can read the Quran, or even the biography of the Prophet, his actions, his teachings. It changes your life from the worst person to one of the best persons. It does happen, and it has happened. Throughout is your point about life-changing experiences and exemplary characters of people who has been influenced by this ideology, by this teaching of these writings. It is not necessarily an evidence of a divine revelation.
But I didn't say it was. You see, you were the word. I've never once used the word revelation at all. I think the word revelation is conceptually
so
very
now
problematic.
let's start again. What convinces you that these writings are part of a revelation of God? Because that's what I'm trying to establish.
Yeah, because he had the word revelation in his question. I think the word revelation, the more you study it, the more that word is a very, very vague, conceptually problematic word. Because almost everything is a revelation in its own way.
Teaching. Do you accept that these are teachings from God?
They're mostly not teachings at all. A lot of them are narrative.
Okay, what are
there are many different genres.
In fact,
there's narrative,
I'm not
there's
going
law,
to...
there's love songs, there's teaching is only a minority of it.
Okay, I'm simply asking you, is this from God?
And I think anything true is in line with God.
So you have a good documentary and it's in line with the facts of realities from God.
Yeah, anything where the realities actually mean the statements fitting the facts, then yes.
Whenever you have a true account presented, you will say this is from God. So
no, I do not say that at all. I will not say it's from God. I will say that anything true, the truth aspect of that is approved by God.
Good. The truth aspect is approved by God. So if I write a book, Fire happened in 1666. This writing is from God because He speaks the truth.
In my last statement, I have already rejected this phrase "from God." I did not say that. I've already rejected this word "from God." I said it is in line. That aspect is in line with.
I understand much better. Has God sent down any communication from Him? Did Moses speak to God directly?
He certainly said so. He doesn't strike me as a.
Do you believe that He did?
Yeah, because he doesn't strike me as an untruthful person.
Okay. So you believe God spoke to Moses or Moses spoke to God directly? You believe it? So there's a form of communication that God can actually communicate directly. Now, the Torah or the 10 commandments in the tablet, who wrote it? These words or the commands, the 10 commandments, is it a speech of a human being or is it a speech of God?
You know, by the witness in here, that is the speech of God. By the witness in here, it depends who wrote down the witness.
Very good. So now we've come to find and identify there is speech of God that can be transcribed. These writings that you now possess in your hands may contain may contain the speech of God transcribed. How do you know that these writings are from Him? That's the question that I've been asking at the very beginning. Now we understand better the question.
It's a matter of evidence. You go by the known character of those who claim that it was, And was it actually them writing it, or was it some other person later? So there's various different factors involved.
Very good. So let's take that factor about the known character.
Yes.
The first book in the New Testament, what's it called?
Well,
in your format at the
Matthew.
moment. Matthew was written by which known character?
Strangely enough, that is the one gospel where we don't actually know who wrote it. It's probably somebody called Matthew who is a scribe.
Okay. So if we don't know who wrote it, would you know his character? How would you know what his character was like?
The only way you would know that is through what he wrote and the way that it interrelated with what other people wrote. But he is not actually a typical example, because most of the people who write the New Testament writings, we do know quite a lot about their character.
Good. So Matthew, because we don't know about him, who he is, we can only go by his writings. Okay, this is a very good point.
Correct.
So let me give you 3 examples from his writings that gives me an understanding of his character.
Okay.
So first example is Matthew writes a genealogy of Christ, and he says these are 14 generations from Abraham to David, and these are 14 generations from David to the exile to Babylon, or Abraham.
Correct, yes.
And from exile to Babylon to Joseph or Jesus.
Yes.
14 says these are all the generations. 14, 14, and 14.
Yes.
Now, when I examine with an open mind,
correct.
Okay, well, I didn't have to do that because some Jewish scholars have done it already before.
That's right.
And they went back and they found that there were not only 14 generation, he misses some out.
Yes, he does.
So, if he's writing something historically to present an historical account as true as possible, a person of good moral character would not take some names here and there out and say these are only 14 generations or all the generations of 14, 14, 14.
Correct.
So here he's making an error or a deception or a lie or some kind of mistake. Right?
Or he likes the pattern he's made and he doesn't want to...
No. But clearly when we go into Book of Chronicles, we can see the people and we can see his omitted. So it's absolutely, definitely, without any shadow of doubt, a mistake. So did he make a mistake unwillingly, unknowingly, or was it deliberate omission is the question. Because if he made a mistake, you can say, okay, he's not infallible. He's a fallible person, human being. He made a mistake. Okay, God hasn't protected him from writing something which is going to be an exemplar for every human being to follow. He just made a mistake. But what we find is rather to the contrary. It wasn't an inadvertent omission. We find that the people he missed out, for example, he missed out Jehoiakim, the father of Jeconiah and the brothers. If we go to Jeremiah, for example, it says, God of the Old Testament says to Jehoiakim and his offspring that you shall have no one to sit on the throne of David. You are cursed. Not only you, so your descendants. So God cursed Jehoiakim and his descendants for what? That they shall have no line of inheritance or Davidic king to sit on the throne of David. What was Matthew trying to do? He was trying to make from the very beginning Jesus the son of David. He wants to make Jesus to be the son of David.
Yes.
If he has Jehoiakim in his genealogy, he cannot be the son of David, because anyone that comes from Jehoiakim is cursed. He cannot even claim to be the son of David. So what he does, he simply takes this name away as if it's going to solve the problem. But the problem hasn't been solved. It has been discovered by non-Christians saying, look, you have omitted this name, but the reality is that genealogy is going through Jehoiakim. That means Jesus cannot be the son of David, which you are trying to make your claim in the very beginning. So he made clearly a deliberate, intended mistake. So that shows you someone is deceiving you about history for his theological motive. My second point, he then goes on to give that there are certain prophecies that was made. He shall be called a Nazarene, as was spoken by the prophets. Now, we can search high and low until the cows come home. We don't find any prophecies in any of the prophets in the Old Testament where the Messiah was going to be called. He shall be called, it says, a Nazarene. There is no such thing. Someone, an open-minded person like yourself, should have known this already. So he twists history willingly, deliberately. Second example is he invents historical details, inventing a prophecy that didn't even exist, and he makes intentional or unintentional errors. So these three examples should be sufficient to show that this particular writer, what character does he have? Does he have a good memory? I might now question. When he makes mistakes, did he not bother to check what's there in the writings? But if he had a good memory and it was a good person to assess and analyze what was there, he should have made that mistake. When he deliberately chose to rewrite history, what does it tell me about this character? It tells me that I cannot trust him because he may have changed a lot of things from history and presented in his own theological motive a different picture altogether. In my conclusion then, when we don't know who the writer is and we look at his writing, the conclusion that I derive from here is this person, I cannot trust him for my life and my death. That he's going to give me in his writings about what I need to do, what I need to believe, what I need to act to be saved in the hereafter. I would say, no, this individual is not going to give me this confidence to follow his writings to be the truth, presentation of the truth.
Terima kasih sudah menonton. Untuk mendukung dakwah ini, jangan lupa like, subscribe, dan tekan tombol notifikasi. Semoga Allah Azza wa Jalla membalas kebaikan kalian, menetapkan hati kita di atas Islam, dan menyelamatkan kita dari panas api neraka.